We're always searching for the next big thing to fix our anxiety, right? A new app, a new technique. But what if the answer isn't new at all? What if it's actually ancient? Like, really ancient. Today, we're going to look at how wisdom from over 1,000 years ago might just be the thing we've been missing. So that's really the big question we're asking today. In our world of instant gratification and quick fixes, what can we really learn from a tradition that's been thinking about the human mind for, get this, over 1,400 years? It's a pretty powerful idea when you stop and think about it. Okay, so if you've ever dealt with anxiety, I'm willing to bet someone somewhere has told you to just try mindfulness, right? It's everywhere. And look, for a lot of us, it does help, at least for a bit. It kind of slows everything down, turns down the volume on the noise in your head, and gives you a minute to just breathe. And this is the really frustrating part for so many people, that calm doesn't always stick around. The anxiety just creeps back in. So the real question is why? Why does that relief feel so temporary? Like, why does it feel like it just can't stand up to the pressure when life gets, messy? And that right there brings us to the limits of some of our modern approaches. Let's dig into why these really popular techniques, even with all their benefits, sometimes just don't give us that deep, lasting peace we're all looking for. And this is what so many people feel. That sense of calm, it feels like it's just floating on the surface. It doesn't feel connected to anything bigger, any real meaning. And hey, if you felt this way, you need to hear this. It is not your fault. It's not a personal failure. It might just be a sign that there's a limit to the technique itself. So, this gets us to the heart of the problem, what we could call mindfulness without meaning. See, we're taught to be aware, to observe, but awareness without any kind of direction, well, that can just leave you feeling kind of lost. So, let's unpack what's missing from the picture. Okay, look at this comparison here. It's super interesting. On one hand, modern mindfulness is awesome at training our attention. You learn to observe things, and that for sure helps calm your nervous system down. But, and it's a big but, that's often where it stops. It doesn't really give you a framework for purpose or a sense of accountability. And it definitely doesn't help with those huge existential questions that, let's be honest, are behind a lot of our anxiety. All right, so that's the problem. Now let's pivot to a potential solution. We're going to talk about something called Muraqabah. It's an ancient practice that comes from the Islamic tradition. So what is it exactly? Well, Muraqabah is an Arabic word, and it literally just means watchfulness. Simple enough, right? But what you're being watchful of, that's what changes everything. And here it is. This is the big shift. It's not about you just watching your thoughts anymore. It's about this constant, profound awareness that you are being seen by God. Think about that for a second. That idea completely transforms your inner world. It directly takes on those feelings of being alone or abandoned or meaningless, the very things that are often at the root of all our anxiety. And this idea isn't just something someone made up. It's anchored right in the Quran. This verse, "and he is with you wherever you are," it's more than just a nice, comforting phrase. It's the actual foundation for this whole state of mind. It's what gives the practice its weight, its authenticity. Okay, so that's the concept, but how does it actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Why is this kind of God-centered awareness so good at getting to the deep roots of anxiety? So here's the first big difference. You know how mindfulness tells you to watch your thoughts like they're just clouds passing by? Well, Muraqabah says, okay, do that, but with one huge addition. Observe those thoughts knowing they matter. They're not just random noise, because they're being witnessed. And that adds this layer of gentle accountability. It's not about judgment, it's about significance. And that leads us right to the next point. Mindfulness trains you to just be present. Muraqabah trains you to be present with a purpose. It gives you a kind of moral and spiritual compass. So you're not just floating in your inner world, you're actually navigating it. The way Muraqabah brings back that feeling of wholeness is by integrating these three things. First, you've got the cognitive part. That's regulating your attention, just like in mindfulness. But then it adds the emotional part, this deep, powerful feeling of reassurance that comes from knowing you're not alone. And finally, there's the ethical part, which grounds you in a sense of responsibility and purpose. See how it all connects? It brings your whole self into alignment. So we've talked about how it works, but just as important is where this all comes from. I mean, this is not some new wellness trend you'd see on social media. This is a practice with some serious credibility. It has been tested and refined over centuries. And this timeline really drives that home. We're talking about something with roots going back more than 1,400 years. This wasn't dreamed up in a quiet lab or a peaceful yoga studio. It was forged in the fire of real human struggle, through hardship, war, loss. That's what gives it such a deep, incredible resilience. And this comparison is so important. A lot of modern techniques are designed for one thing: comfort, to make us feel better right now. But Muraqabah, it was designed for endurance. It was a tool to help people stay whole on the inside, even when their entire world was falling apart on the outside. That's a whole different ballgame. So where does this all lead? What's the end game here? It's about healing the whole self. We're talking about something that goes way beyond just calming your nerves. The goal is a deep, truly integrated sense of peace. And this verse from the Quran just says it all, doesn't it? The point isn't to distract yourself or numb your feelings. The point is to find rest. Real, deep rest for your heart. Muraqabah is the practice that makes that remembrance a living, breathing reality. Okay, if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this: mindfulness calms the mind. Muraqabah aims to heal the self. One is a tool for your thoughts. The other is a path for your entire being. It's a huge difference. And this really gets down to the fundamental worldview behind each approach. The modern view often sees us as, well, kind of like complex machines that just need to be regulated, tweaked, and optimized. But the view we're exploring here sees a human as a soul. And a soul doesn't need to be regulated. It needs to be oriented, pointed towards purpose, towards meaning, towards God. That shift in perspective is exactly why it can address those deep needs that so many of us feel. And so that brings us full circle, right back to where we started, with a question I'll just leave with you. In a world that is so full of anxiety that just doesn't seem to respond to our modern fixes, is it possible to truly heal without looking back, without tapping into the kind of profound wisdom that has carried people through for centuries? It's definitely something to think about.